everyone. Welcome to TripAdvisor on this Friday. It's time for another Film Friday conversation. Thanks for taking time to join me today. It is award season and we're continuing to talk about some of the best and my personal favorite movies of the past year. Last week I shared a little bit about my favorite animated film of the year, Wolfwalkers from Ireland. Today we are continuing to travel around the world as I talk about some of my favorite international films of the year. Of course, international films hopefully are on people's radar a little more after last year's Best Picture winner Parasite made history by becoming the first ever foreign language film to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And director Bong Joon-ho famously said that he was just pleading with people to explore international films. He said, once you can get past that little 1-inch barrier on the bottom of the screen, referring to those subtitles, you will enjoy so many more good films. And that's been my experience over the years as I've fallen in love with not simply with films out of Hollywood, as good as many of them are, but there really is a richness in some of these international films around the world. And so I hope you've taken a chance, or will take a chance, to sort of expand your cinematic palette and watch some films outside of Hollywood, outside the box. It's been a great year for international films. There hasn't really been a Best Picture frontrunner like last year with Parasite. That being said, I want to share 3 films today, 2 very briefly, 2 honorable mentions, and then just take a few minutes to talk about my favorite international film of the year. First honorable mention is a Russian film that I had the privilege of seeing at my local indie theater. Shout out to the Sudbury Indie Theater, and I look forward to getting back there once they open up. We're in a bit of a lockdown right now, but before the lockdown, I had a chance with a friend to go and view the film. It's called Dear Comrades. Russian film. It's basically the plot and the premise of the film. It's set in 1962 Russia following the reign of Stalin, where workers from a small industrial town go on strike when the communist government raises food prices. And it was a fascinating film to watch for a number of reasons. The director is Andrei Konchalovsky, and that name may not ring a bell with some of you, but he's been in the industry for many years, going back to the 60s, and he actually collaborated with a famous Russian director, perhaps the most famous of all Russian directors, Andrei Tarkovsky, and they collaborated on what is widely held as the greatest art house film of all time, Andrei Rublev. He grew up in Russia. He's come and done some work in Hollywood. But this is one of his finest films. His wife, Julia Vysotsky, is the lead actress in the film, and she is just phenomenal. If I had a vote on the 5 nominees for Best Actress this year, I would strongly consider including her. She basically personifies someone who's just so caught up in their ideology. She misses the days of Joseph Stalin. That sounds crazy to us, knowing the history of Stalin. But she's so ingrained in a certain ideological belief and an authoritarian rule, and she thinks her country is crumbling because there's a new leader in place. And the cinematography in this film was great. It's filmed in black and white monochrome. Her performance is outstanding, as I mentioned. This film would have been great anytime to view, but the fact that I was able to see this literally as another authoritarian rule, the reign of Trump, was winding down and coming to an end. And there's a bit of a riot and a mob in this film. And it was literally 2 weeks after the Capitol riot that I watched this film. And there were some interesting parallels between what's happening in the film from the 60s and what's happening sort of in the U.S. context currently. So Dear Comrades is the movie. Highly recommend it. Check it out. It's my first honorable mention. The second honorable mention I want to mention briefly is a Danish film called Another Round by director Thomas Vinterberg. It stars Mads Mikkelsen, and it is probably going to win the Best International Film Award at the Academy Awards. It's been getting a lot of love, and I had a chance to see this at our local film festival back in September. Really enjoyed it. I've seen it again since. Basically, the premise of the film is Mads Mikkelsen is one of 4 high school teachers, and they're going through middle age. and they're going through a bit of a midlife crisis. And it's during this midlife crisis, as they're out celebrating one of the foursome's 40th birthday, that the conversation involves talk about a sort of a social scientist from Norway who posited that the blood alcohol level in the body is lower than it should be to achieve sort of optimal performance. And so they test this theory. They start to consume alcohol. They set some ground rules and boundaries, and they do a little bit of alcohol consumption to see if it will, in fact, enhance their life, their work, and their relationships. And for a number of them, I don't want to spoil it, but it does. But then they continue to push the bar and they up the ante. You really see the good, the bad, and the ugly of both alcoholism and how to react and respond to a midlife crisis. And so, really, Thomas Vinterberg, it's a bittersweet movie because it shows both the highs and the lows, the joys and the pains of life, particularly midlife. What also adds to the bittersweetness of this film is that the director, Thomas Vinterberg, he had dedicated this movie to his daughter, and she was supposed to have a role in the film. But tragically, within the first week of them filming the movie, she died tragically in a car accident. So he dedicates this film to her, and you really do see the full spectrum of emotions. But the ending of this film is one of the best I've seen all year, and Mads Mikkelsen's performance is phenomenal. So if you have a chance, check out both Dear Comrades and Another Round. They are my two honorable mentions for my favorite international feature film of the year. But a few weeks ago, I discovered a film that has been hidden in plain sight, literally. It dropped on Netflix early in 2020, but wasn't really advertised, and I didn't really know anything about it until just a month ago. I was reading an article from a movie reviewer, and he actually said this was his favorite film of the year. It's from Taiwan, and I'm a big fan of not only international films, but specifically Asian films. Some of you know my journey. I lived in Southeast Asia for a couple of years, in South Korea, teaching English as a second language. And so I kind of fell in love with the Asian culture and the Asian film industry. And probably the most famous Taiwanese director some of you might know is Ang Lee. He's won a number of Academy Awards. He's directed Brokeback Mountain, Life of Pi, and but there are some other established Taiwanese directors as well. And this movie called A Sun, S-U-N, is directed by acclaimed Taiwanese director Chung Mong Hong. A powerful drama. Again, it's on Netflix. You can check it out. Certainly, it's not getting the credit it deserves. It's sort of buried on Netflix. And the thing with Netflix is there's so many options that sometimes it's hard to know what to watch and what not to watch. And Netflix has really been promoting some of their bigger Hollywood movies this year, like Mank and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Trial of Chicago 7, and others. They've really been the movies that have been pushed forward, but I would put A Sun alongside any one of those films. It's basically a little bit about the movie. It's a powerful drama. It's a drama that depicts a family of four living in Taiwan, covers many, many years in their lives, and really it explores the way the family sort of can fracture or is fracturing under the weight of unmet expectations, unexpected tragedy, and some uncompromising pride. The family of four, father, mother, and really explores most particularly the relationship between the father and his two sons. One son is a top student who's poised to attend basically any medical school of his choice, really successful. The other son, however, is sort of a raging, angry delinquent who, in the eyes of his father, is a failure and a disappointment. And there's something that happens at the beginning of this film. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really sort of almost a grotesque, violent scene right at the beginning of the film, which really is important. It sets the narrative, and it's important because it's a metaphor for the rest of the movie. I won't spoil the details of it, but I simply say that because people like my wife would watch this movie and they'd turn it off after 2 or 3 minutes because they think, ooh, this is what's going to come for another 2 hours. I don't want to watch this film. But it really is just an isolated incident, and it's not there for shock value, but as the story unfolds, you see how it's a perfect setup for the narrative and for the plot. And so you see throughout the film the father and the choices the son makes, and how the father is so full of pride and he favors one son over the other. But through a series of twists and turns that will just tug at your heartstrings, you'll get invested in this story. I think it's 2.5 hours, which might seem long, especially for an international film. And the reality is, for me, there are some films that have a running time like that they tend to drag. There are other films that I wish were a little longer. They fly by, and you don't really have time to invest in the characters and the arc of the story. I found 2.5 hours was just the perfect runtime for this film. I found I was emotionally invested in the story. Each of the characters had a wonderful character arc. I laughed, I cried, I was on the edge of my seat at moments, and I was just in awe of the cinematography in this film. The colors, specifically the use of sun and shade, light and darkness, that's a big part of the plot, and the visual language of this film reinforces the plot details. I mentioned Taiwanese director Ang Lee. I was watching an interview between Ang Lee and director Chung Mong Hong. And Ang Lee, the most famous director ever, probably out of Taiwan, he actually said these words to director Hong about the film. He says, "When I watch your film, I feel somewhat envious and jealous," Lee says. "Films with larger budgets are not allowed to offer so many details. In your film, we can live with those characters you pay attention to. It gradually becomes a luxury that the film industry and viewers rarely permit. We are not allowed to live with them, walk into their framework, feel their struggles, and take everything in step by step." And that's exactly how I felt watching this film. We're sort of walking and breathing with this family, literally over a decade plus. And the highs and the lows, the twists and the turns, the pain. I mean, the love. This explores the themes of pride and shame and forgiveness and love about as good as any I've seen this past year. Again, it's been hidden in plain sight. It has made all three of these films, actually, Dear Comrades, Another Round, and this one, A Son. They've all made the Oscar shortlist. The 15 films, out of which 5 will be selected. I would love to see all 3 of these films be selected, but hopefully at least 2 of the 3 and certainly Another Round will be. But don't sleep on this film. If you're looking for something to watch on Netflix, give it a shot. I think you'll like it. Be forewarned that initial scene is pretty gruesome and shocking, but after you watch the film, you'll understand, I think, why it's there and what it means. So that's 3 of my favorite international films of the year. Again, Oscar nominations will be announced on Monday, March the 15th. I'm actually going to have a special video I'll be posting on Monday. I'll be hanging out with a friend and colleague and a fellow cinephile, and we'll be recording a live viewing as the Oscar nominations are revealed. So I'll be posting that up on the channel on Monday. So you're welcome to join me then and get our live, raw reactions to the surprises, the snubs, all of the nominations for the Academy Awards happening on Monday, March 15th. Of course, the Academy Awards are April 25th. Here's what's coming the next few weeks. Once the Academy Award nominations are unveiled, I'll be specifically looking at all of the films that are nominated for Best Picture. Could be 7, could be 8, could be 9, could even be 10. We're not sure. We'll find out on Monday. And I will give my personal rankings, having probably, I think I've seen all of them, the possible ones that can be nominated. And so I'll be counting down from 9 or 10 all the way up to number 1 between now and the Academy Awards on April 25th. So, like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, click the notification bell and you can be notified for all of those future videos. And if you're not already aware, I do videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. I record Tabletop Tuesday board game review tutorials, and I have some theological conversations on Thursdays as well. So thanks for joining me today here at TripAdvisor, and I hope you'll check out some of these international films. And hey, in the comments, let me know, have you seen any international films this year? If so, what are the ones you have enjoyed and why? Thanks again for being with me today at TripAdvisor. Whatever you're watching tonight and this week, I hope it's an enjoyable time with your loved ones. Take care. We'll see you next time here at TripAdvisor.